Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am very excited to share with all of you my recommendations for the upcoming Sephora VIB spring sale. So this is one of the biggest sales of the year in the makeup world. You can get 10, 15, or 20% off of everything at Sephora depending on your membership level. And so I thought this would be a fun opportunity to round up some of the products that I've been really enjoying lately to share with you all my recommendations for the sale. So normally for these videos, I just run through brand by brand and tell you which products I would recommend. But for today's video, I thought it'd be fun to demo as many of these products as possible on my face. And so I created this look using as many of the products as I was able to fit. So let me know how you guys like this format. As always, there will be detailed timestamps down below in case you want to hop around. And before we dive into the products, one quick disclaimer I want to make is that there are certain products that I would not necessarily recommend picking up during the Sephora VIB sale. In particular, Pat McGrath is not a brand I would recommend shopping during this sale because she always has the biggest sales on her website, and they are typically site-wide sales that have upwards of 35% off. Recently, in fact, there was a glitch where some people were getting 50% off. So definitely wait for her sale instead of shopping her products during the Sephora VIB sale. So for today's recommendations, I'm sticking to brands that typically don't have site-wide sales, like Natasha Denona and Charlotte Tilbury. But in case you were curious why some of my favorites are not ending up on this list, it's either because they're not carried at Sephora or they typically have better sales on other sites. Today's video will only be going over my recommendations, but let me know if you guys are interested in hearing my Sephora wish list as well. If so, I'd be happy to film that in a separate video. So without further ado, let's get into these products. So to start off, my face is totally bare right now and my lips are feeling pretty dry. So I'm gonna go in with this lip balm from Summer Fridays. This is in the shade Vanilla Beige and has a slight tan tone to it. So this has been one of my favorite lip balms just to prep the lips before makeup. I got this in one of the holiday sets that Sephora came out with towards the end of last year, but I've been really loving this product. You can see that on the lips, it doesn't leave that much of a tint. It's overall pretty sheer, even though it might look a little bit intense immediately out of the tube. But it's very sheer once you blend it out, and it's just really thick and moisturizing on the lips. Also has a really tasty vanilla cupcake sort of confectionery taste to it. So I really enjoy putting this on whenever my lips are feeling really dry. There's also this handy curved silicone applicator, so it's really easy to apply it to your lips. So for complexion today, I was going to go in with a foundation, but I have a lot of breakouts going on at the moment, and yesterday I wore a full face of makeup, so I feel like my skin could use a little bit of a break, a little bit more breathability. So I'm actually going to go in with this Minimalist stick from Merit Beauty. I have this in the shade Sand. And so this is a foundation concealer hybrid. It's basically a stick product that you can just use all over your face. This is mainly something I go in with on no makeup days, so not days like today where I'm doing a full face. But because I do want my skin to just breathe and not feel like it has too much on it today, I'm gonna go in with this, and some of my blemishes will probably still peek through, but that's okay. So you can see it's pretty easy just to draw this all over your face. It's a very creamy product. And then I often just go in with a finger to brush it out like this. That's what I typically do on most days. As you can see, it blends in super easily just with a finger. So for me, this is a really great, just simple, everyday makeup routine sort of look. So there we go, blended in just with a finger, very seamless. It's sort of a light to medium coverage overall. Merit does also sell a brush though, so you can also just go in with a brush and blend it in that way. On an everyday basis, I'm usually too lazy to use a brush because then I have to clean it. but this also does a really excellent job of just blending everything in. So here we have one layer on both sides of my face. And now I'm just going to go in with a little bit more on areas where I could use a little bit more coverage. And for the higher coverage, I usually just go in with a finger. Put a little bit of this on my eye area too. So for me, I wouldn't say this is necessarily my #1 foundation or my #1 concealer, but I think it's a really excellent, very easy to use hybrid product. It's just so much easier to brush this on your face and just use a finger to blend it out rather than having to go in with a sponge or a brush. And because it's an all-in-one product, it just makes it easier to finish off your everyday makeup routine without having to do a lot of steps. And you can see with a couple layers, my blemishes are now mostly covered up, but it still feels pretty light on the skin. Now to bronze up my face a bit, I have the same Minimalist stick, but in the shade Amber. So this is a deeper caramel tone, and I really like this for warming up the face, especially the hairline area where you tend to get a little bit more tan. I'll also today put this a bit on my cheekbones as well, just for a little bit of contour. And I'm going to go in with powder bronzer later as well. But I find that this product blends in really easily to the skin. You can also use a finger for this if you'd like, but since I have this brush handy, I'm just gonna brush it in. And I've now tried this product with a bunch of other foundations as well, and I find that it works super easily. So if you're someone who's a huge fan of bronzing sticks, it might be worth checking out this formula just in a deeper shade. Now for the brows, I'm going to go in with my Brow Pop from Kosas. I have this in the shade, let me see, Brown Black. And this has been one of my favorite brow products. I feel like it's very, very easy to use. It's a really nice blend of creamy, but still stiff enough that you can get some nice hair-like strokes. Usually the way I use it is I just kind of outline my brows and then fill them in a little bit, and then take the spoolie on the other end and just brush it out. So you can see this is just by itself a pretty easy brow look, much more defined on this side than this side. For today's look though, I'm gonna also go in with my Merit Beauty Brow Pomade. This has quickly risen to be my #1 favorite brow gel, which is saying a lot because I am very picky with my brow gels. There's not that many I like. I've tried the Benefit, the Huda Beauty, the Charlotte Tilbury, the Kosas, the M Cosmetics, and I do like those as well, but this one is basically now my go-to everyday brow gel. I normally just wear this by itself, and I find that it's just so quick and easy to put on. You really don't have to worry about it staining your skin or looking unnatural. And so it's just so fast and so easy. And once it dries down, your brows just look really nice, fluffy, and natural, but much more defined and voluminous. And so this brow gel is actually my favorite product from the Merit Beauty line. So here you can see the completed brow on this side and nothing on this brow over here. So now I'm going to go in and just finish off this brow as well. So here we have the brows done, and in the interest of just rounding out this Merit Beauty section, I also have been really loving their tinted lip oil. This is in the shade Au Naturel, which is just a really nice everyday shade. It's very similar to my natural lip color. And so I removed my Summer Fridays lip balm just to show you guys how this looks on the lips. So you can see it's a very, very natural tone. And I've been really, really loving this on an everyday basis. This has quickly risen to be one of my most used lip products, which is saying a lot because I basically always need to have something on my lips. My lips get very dry, so I pretty much always have a lip balm, lip gloss, lip oil, or lipstick on. And so I am very picky about how hydrating lip products are. For this one, it feels extremely nice when you put it on the lips. The pigmentation is quite sheer, so it's also very natural looking. It's basically a My Lips But Better kind of look. It also, because it's a lip oil, is pretty thin on the lips. It doesn't feel thick like a lip gloss. So I pretty much wear this lip gloss on an everyday basis and would definitely highly recommend it. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of with this lip gloss is it doesn't last very long, so you do need to reapply throughout the day. But for me, given that this is a pretty sheer product, I really don't mind that. But if you want something longer lasting, of course, this is not going to be the best product for you. So moving right along, I would normally at this point go in with a bunch of powder products, but I've actually recently found some cream blushes that I've been really enjoying, which for me is a pretty big deal. I generally don't like cream or liquid products of any sort for the most part in comparison to powder ones. But these two products over here have really won my heart, and I've been using these pretty much on an everyday basis since I got them. So first off, we have this higher standard satin matte cream blush in the shade Confident, and this is from the brand LYS. I have a whole video about their brand in case you're interested, so I'll link that video down below. And I actually also have a full video about Merit Beauty in case you're interested in them, so I'll also include that link down below. But as you can see, Confident is just a really pretty, quite unique shade. It's sort of a mix of a rose shade with a little bit of peachiness, with a little bit of brown. And so I think it flatters a wide variety of skin tones and also just looks really great, sort of regardless what kind of look you have on. And what I really love about this formula is, as the name implies, it gives a satin matte finish. So it's not going to be super dewy or greasy on the cheeks. When you first apply it to the skin, there is a little bit of stick to it, but once it dries down, it really has much more of a satin matte finish. And in general, this formulation is a lot drier than a lot of cream blushes, and so it has a little bit more lasting power and also doesn't feel greasy on the skin. So most days I would just go in with a finger and apply this, but since I still have this brush handy, I'm just gonna dip into this with that Merit Beauty brush and just stamp it on the side of my face. As you can see, the product is quite pigmented, so you really don't need much at all, especially if you have a fair complexion. And it just blends into the skin super easily. So there we have it on the side of the face, and you can see it's a really beautiful, healthy flush. Definitely not a matte finish. You can see a little bit of sheen to it, but overall not that dewy either. The other product I've been loving is Vision Flush from Danessa Myricks, and I have this in the shade Ballet Slippers. This is actually a pretty similar shade to Confident, so they both are really excellent for everyday wear. So you can see here that this is a liquid formula. It's quite pigmented, but can also sheer out quite easily. So here is like a pigmented swatch, and then if you want to sheer it out, you can easily have much more of a faint wash on the cheeks as well. This is also a product I typically just put on with a finger on an everyday basis, but for today's look, I'll also just dot it on the face and go in with the brush. And for me, this is my favorite formula from Danessa Myricks in terms of cream blush. I have also tried her Color Fix, and I find that's a little bit too pigmented for me. I have to work very quickly, and it's a little bit finicky for me. Vision Flush, as you can see, just shears out super easily. Just a couple taps, and you basically have a perfect blushed look. I think I have a little bit more on this side, so I'm just gonna add one more dot of Vision Flush to even it out. Also, when I compare this formula with her recent dewy cheek and lip products, this one is not sticky at all, whereas those do have a decent amount of stick to them. So on the whole, if you're primarily looking for Danessa Myricks product to use on the cheeks, I think Vision Flush is by far the easiest to use and just provides the most beautiful, seamless finish with pretty much no effort at all. The rest of the Danessa Myricks formulas are beautiful as well, but do take a little bit more work. So now let's go in with some powder, and my favorite powder at Sephora at the moment is this Kosas powder. I have this in the shade Comfy, so this is their Cloud Set powder. I have this little version here and some of it has broken off, so it's not looking the best, but I really love this powder. It is so easy to use. It leaves the skin looking really nice, just slightly mattified, so it doesn't totally take away any glow that you might have. And I feel like this is a powder that's hard to overdo, which for me is really important because the biggest problem I have with setting powder is because you can't really see it on your face, I often just keep going, and before I know it, my face looks really, really textured and really dry. But I feel like this powder is really good if you're someone like me and you tend to go a little bit overboard. As you can see right now, I have it on this side of my face, mainly in my T-zone area, and this side is unset. And so it just mattified this side a bit and made it look a little bit more smooth. You can definitely see a little bit more texture here in comparison to here. So I just really enjoy this powder, and this was in my best of 2021 face powders. One of my other favorites is the By Terry Hyaluronic Hydra Powder, but that is not carried by Sephora. So for me, when it comes to Sephora face powders, this one is my favorite at the moment. So normally at this point, I would go in with powder, bronzer, and blush, but because we went in with some products that do have a little bit of dewiness to them, I'm gonna let them just settle down into the skin for a moment and go instead into eyeshadow. So when it comes to eyeshadow for the Sephora VIB sale, my #1 recommendation is to pick up any Natasha Denona palettes that you've been eyeing. So I have here the palettes that I would most recommend for this sale. First off, if you are interested in the Natasha Denona Pastel Palette, this is by far the best time to pick it up because this palette is brand new, so it's not going to be going on sale on Natasha Denona's website anytime soon. I think this is a great palette for any of you who are interested in having a bit more color in your collection, especially if you like lighter looks for the springtime. The mattes in this palette are really impeccable, really easy to use, really beautiful, and they perform really well for pastel mattes. The shimmers in this palette are good, but not great, I would say. They're not as creamy and emollient as most of Natasha Denona's shimmers, but they still perform well and are quite nice. And if you want to see a lot of looks with this palette and a bunch of comparison swatches, definitely check out my dedicated video to this. I provide comparisons with every single shade in this palette, so in case you're curious about dupes for this palette, definitely check that out. And this is the palette I'll use for today's eyeshadow look. Another recent release I would recommend from Natasha Denona is her Glam Face Palette. So I have this in the light color story. And I've really fallen in love with this palette. I was really surprised because originally I wasn't even gonna pick up this palette, but this shot up to be one of my favorite palettes of last year, mainly because of these eyeshadows down here. If you're someone who really likes pinky nude shades, if you're someone who really is attracted to idea of, for example, Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury, but you found that her Pillow Talk shades run a little bit too orange on you, then this is the perfect palette because it basically is that sort of pinky nude Pillow Talk color story, but these are actually true nudes and they don't come across as orangey. So I've been really loving this palette whenever I want just a really neutral nude look. If you exclude these two shimmers here and just use these mattes plus this highlighter, you can get a really nice office look that's just very neutral and really everyday friendly. If you want something more glam, you can just bring in these two sparkly shades and it really just dresses up the look. So I find this palette super, super easy to use. I can't say that I've actually used this blush that much. This is definitely for me the least interesting part of this palette. But these eyeshadows, even though they look really simple, are actually pretty hard to find, at least for me, in terms of that perfect nude. So if you're looking for a really excellent everyday palette, then I would highly, highly recommend checking this out. In terms of other Natasha Denona palettes, I'm also a huge fan of her Retro palette and her Bronze palette. I would recommend Retro if you want a more mauvey color story, a little bit more on the cool side, whereas Bronze is excellent for a warmer color story. These Midi palettes are my favorite size of Natasha Denona palettes because they have 15 shades, they're only $65, and if you have a big eyeshadow collection, these size pans are perfectly good. You don't really need the much bigger size pans. And these sorts of palettes don't go on sale that often, so I would highly recommend checking them out during this sale. Now, in terms of the bigger palettes, I do really love the Trio Chrome and Circo Loco palettes as well. I actually get a lot of use from these because I love using the colorful mattes from these palettes and then going in with my indie shadows as a topper. That said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting these during the Sephora VIB sale because sometimes Natasha Denona does bundle these together and sell them for cheaper on her website. In fact, that's how I picked these up. They were 40% off on her website if you bought them together. So if you're interested in any sort of bundle, you might want to wait until Natasha Denona has a sale because she rarely puts individual palettes on sale, but she'll often put two of them together and sell them for a steep discount. So now let's get into today's eyeshadow look. So I'm going to start out with the shade Bubble, which is a really fun cornflower blue shade. And I'm going to put this on the outer portion of my lid and crease. And today I did put on my Urban Decay Primer Potion because I do find with these pastel mattes, it does help quite a bit to have some primer down. In general, pastels just tend to be a little bit more of a dry formula, and so they can be a bit powdery and flaky. But I really enjoy this shade. It's a really fun spring shade. And I'm using this Jumbo blender from my Sonia G Kayaki set, which is her set of travel brushes, which I also really love. So I think the Beautylish sale will be over by the time this video goes up. Before any future Beautylish sales, I would highly recommend checking out the Kayaki brush set. So with the blue down, I'm going to go in with Bora on the other side of my brush, and I'm going to put this on the inner portion of the eye. This is a really pretty purple shade. I think this is just a really fun palette to play around with if you're kind of bored with the colors in your existing collection and want something that really stretches you. The way this palette is laid out, there's just so many different directions you can go in terms of color. And so it definitely encourages you to play. And now with a finger, I'm going to go into Duet and just put this all over the lids. Duet basically shifts from blue to purpley pink. So I think it's a really nice match for these two mattes. And then I'm just going to bring that Jumbo blender again to just blend out any edges. And you can see that Duet is a pretty soft shimmer shade. It's not high shine by any means. So overall, this look is going to be quite soft. For the lower lash line, I'm going to go in with my Rephr number 2 brush into Bubble and just connect that on the bottom, pulling that on the outer corner. And then with my flat definer from Sonia G, I'm going into Duet and tracing this on the inner portion of the lower lash line. And then with this mini booster from Sonia G, I'm going into Illusion and just putting this on the inner corner and then also on the brow bone. And I guess this has basically become a demo of the Kayaki brush set as well. So I realized I forgot to mention earlier I was using the Classic Face to do the powder. Alrighty, so here we have the colorful eyeshadow look done. So I'm going to go off camera, do some eyeliner, and be back with more Sephora recommendations. So with the eye look finished, let's round out this Natasha Denona section. So the Sephora VIB sale is also a really great time to pick up any lip products from Natasha Denona that you've been eyeing. So I love her lip liner formula. It is my all-time favorite lip liner formula. So I will definitely be picking up at least one new lip liner in this sale. Here I have the shade Naya, which is a pretty deep shade overall. This is what I use on days when I really want to deepen and contour my lips. For me, this is just the creamiest lip liner formula that's also by far the most long-lasting. So a really unique combination of traits. So if you ever feel like it's hard to apply your lip liner, it kind of tugs, or you feel like your lip liner doesn't last long enough, definitely check out the Natasha Denona formula. I also enjoy Natasha Denona's lipstick formula, so I have here her new I Need a Rose lipstick in the shade Calla. So I wouldn't say this is my favorite lipstick formula of all time, but it is a really nice formula. And Natasha Denona especially has really great nude and rose shades. So I'll talk in a moment about a couple other lipstick formulas that I like a little bit better, but I think the Natasha Denona shades are just really excellent. So here we have Calla, which is a really nice, slightly brown toned rose. I would say on me, it runs a little bit more pinky rather than brown rose, but on some other people, it does look a little bit more browny, just depending on your undertones. But this is a really lovely everyday shade. If you guys watched my first video with my initial impressions of this product, I wasn't a huge fan of this when I first tried it. It's just not as hydrating as some of my other lipstick formulas. But this lipstick is way more long lasting than most hydrating lipsticks. And so if you do care more about longevity and want to make sure that your lipstick really stays for the full day, then I think this is an excellent formula that is still overall very hydrating and feels comfortable on the lips over the course of the day. So now let's finish off the face with some cheek products. So first off, I have a contour and a bronzer that I've been really loving. So on the contour side, I recently picked up this Charlotte Tilbury Filmstar Bronze and Glow. I got this in the mini size. And this has been a cult favorite for a long time, so you guys probably don't need me to tell you this. But this product is actually really amazing. I am very impressed because when I swatched this product in store, I really didn't think much of it. As you can maybe see from these swatches, it barely shows up, like this contour shade especially. Like here is the contour and here is the highlight. It really doesn't look like much when you swatch it. And so for the longest time, I hesitated to buy this. And in fact, I bought this in the mini form precisely because I wasn't sure if it would work for me. But I've actually really fallen in love with this product. This is just such a beautiful natural contour. It gives you that look of having a shadow on your face rather than having a lot of tan and bronze. And so especially on days if I'm doing a cooler toned look, I find that this is just the perfect accompaniment. For today, I will try putting a little bit of this on for you guys, but since I already have that cream bronzer, you might not really be able to see it. So yeah, I'm not sure if it really shows up on top of all this other stuff, but usually I would go in with this first and it just offers a really nice contour effect. I'll actually put this on my jawline because especially along the jawline, you don't really want to look like you're tan down here because naturally the sun is not going to hit your jawline as much as the rest of your face. So it's really nice to have this sort of cooler tone contour to give you that more chiseled shadow effect rather than that really bronzy, almost orangey effect. So I would highly recommend checking out this product, and if you have a deeper complexion, you might want to check out the dark version of this. Another bronzer from Sephora that I've been loving is this one from LYS. This is their matte bronzer, and I have this in the shade medium. So we already have a lot going on my face, but I will just, for the sake of showing you guys, put some of this on the perimeter of my face. And this is just such an easy to use bronzer. It really blends out completely seamlessly on the skin. And since it's matte, it also is pretty good for providing a slight bit of contour as well. So I have been really enjoying this product, and especially for the price point, this is really one of the best, most affordable bronzers at Sephora. So there, you can see that just blended in really well, and I think this shade will work well on a wide variety of skin tones as well. If you use a really light layer of it, it really shears out nicely, but you can also build this up if you have a deeper complexion. And let me just give you guys a swatch just so you can see. So it's obviously way deeper than the Charlotte Tilbury and way warmer. So definitely a true bronzer rather than a contour. For blush, one of my recent favorite powder blushes is this Clinique Cheek Pop, and I have this in the shade Black Honey. I actually originally picked this up just because I was intrigued by all the hype around the Black Honey lip product. And so I picked that up along with this. And I feel like the Black Honey lip gloss is fine. It's not, to me, something to really write home about. But I've been actually really loving this cheek pop. It's a really firmly pressed baked formula. And so as you can see, the embossment is pretty deep and stays on even after you've used this product a lot. But it makes it really easy just to pick up very light layers of this blush and just slowly build it up on the cheeks. It blends out just super, super easily. It's a really nice flattering shade. It's sort of a rosy tone, but has a little bit of a mutedness to it as well. So really great on an everyday basis. And as you can see, you can kind of just keep adding layers. And so if you're someone who has trouble blending out your blush, or if you sometimes just go ham, I think this is an excellent product since it's really hard to go overboard with this, and it just leaves a really beautiful satin finish to the cheeks. Now for highlight, I never thought I would be saying this, but I actually really love this liquid highlighter. So this is the Hollywood Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury. This is in the shade 3 and it's in her mini size. And I never ever liked liquid highlighter before this product. I was highly skeptical about this because literally every liquid highlighter I've had has just either dissolved the product underneath it or just looks really obvious on the skin. This one is really impressive because it is such a beautiful sheer formulation. So as you can see, you can definitely build it up, but if you sheer it out, it just has such a beautiful glow to it. It just blends into your skin. You don't see any base pigment, and it just has this really beautiful sheen that it gives. And so I've been loving this just on an everyday basis. I put this on top of my cream blush, and it just works so well with it. I usually actually just go in with a finger and lightly tap this in. And the shine that this provides is really beautiful and natural looking. So as you can see, you don't see any shimmer particles on the cheeks. You just see that nice shine. I'll also for today just try this with a brush. So you can see, you can really use it with any sort of application technique, and it blends in really easily. So pretty on the cheeks. And I actually also love putting a little bit of this on the nose and Cupid's bow. You can just lightly tap it in, and because it doesn't have any glitteriness, it looks really nice on the skin. And for me, this has been game-changing because I don't normally actually wear highlight on an everyday basis. Usually I only wear highlight if I'm doing a full glam look. But because this provides just such a natural shine, I think it's great regardless of whether you're doing something very everyday or something that's a bit more glam. Finally, I'm just going to take my reference number 15 and take some of this powder highlight just to fully set everything. And this is also a very nice highlighter. It's great for just everyday wear. Very nice and natural on the skin. All right, so we are finally in the home stretch, which is lip products. So since we've been talking a lot about Charlotte Tilbury, let's start out with Charlotte. So she has some of my favorite lip formulas of all time. So first off, I have a bunch of her lip cheats, and these are all beautiful and wonderful products. I would say these are slightly less creamy and less long-lasting than the Natasha Denona, so I do slightly prefer the Natasha Denona. But on days when I care less about longevity, I do often reach for these Charlotte Tilbury ones. For today's look, I'm going to actually go in with Pillow Talk Medium, which is a really nice nude berry shade. So great for adding a little bit of contour to the lips. And I removed my Merit Beauty lip gloss before this. So here we have Pillow Talk Medium just on the perimeter of the lips. And I really enjoy this, especially if I'm doing a slightly cooler toned, maybe slightly pinky plummy look. And then for lipstick, I'm going to go in with Glowing Jen, which is in her Kissing formula. And this is one of, if not my overall favorite lipstick formula. It's just so hydrating and comfortable on the lips. It's opaque with one swipe, and it stays comfortable throughout the day. This for me is one of the few full pigment lipsticks I can wear even on days when my lips are feeling super dry. And so I get a lot of use out of these Charlotte Tilbury kissing formulas and would highly, highly recommend these. If you want something that is a little bit more neutral, Nude Romance is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of my most used shades. And Sweet Blossom is excellent if you want something a little bit more red and warm toned. But Glowing Gen for me is gorgeous on days when I want something that is a tiny bit cool toned, but overall really pretty and wearable. Another lip product I would recommend during the Sephora VIB sale is Gucci's lipstick line. In particular, the Satin lipsticks come in this beautiful gold packaging. Really, really gorgeous and fun. This is one of my favorite formulas. I have this in the shade Janet Rust. It has a really beautiful perfume to it, and this formulation is so incredibly pigmented on one swipe, but still really, really comfortable on the lips. And also the pigment is extremely long lasting. So if you'd like something that's a bit more of a luxurious lipstick experience, I would definitely recommend checking out these Gucci Satin lipsticks. The final lipstick that I will talk about, and I have raved about these so much, but I couldn't help but give them one more shout out. So these are the Huda Beauty Cream Lipsticks. I have 5 of these because I can't help but just keep collecting more of these. These are a really perfect everyday go to work lipstick. The shades are all relatively nude and neutral, and for me, I have a really hard time finding good nudes that don't look kind of gray on my skin, and so I've been really loving the colors in this range. Let me actually swatch some of them for you. So this is Sweet Cheeks if you want a slightly mauvey nude. Then we have Hustla, which is more a true nude. Moneymaker, which has a bit of brick red in it, a little bit deeper than the other two. Boss Chick, which is even deeper, a bit more brown. And then Habibi, which has more plum in it. So you can see all of these are very everyday friendly shades, great for the office, and they're very pigmented even though they feel like a lip balm on the lips. And so they're just incredibly comfortable, very easy to wear, and for me, some of the products I've just worn the most over the course of the past year. So that's it in terms of my recommendations for the upcoming Sephora VIB spring sale. As I mentioned at the top, I will link down in the description box links to other videos where I use these products in case you're interested in more demos, swatches, and reviews. I'll also link my previous Sephora VIB sale recommendations. I tried for this video to mostly just stick to newer products in my collection so as not to be totally redundant to those old videos, but my recommendations in those older videos still hold, so definitely check those out in case you're interested in more recommendations. I would love to hear in the comments down below what is on your wish list for this upcoming sale. I know I personally have been spending a lot of time on my wish list, so definitely let me know if you'd be interested in hearing more about what's on my wish list as well. Originally, I was going to include that in this video, but this video ended up being way longer than I anticipated, so I didn't get to the wish list portion, but hopefully these recommendations are helpful for you guys. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!